Live with that breaking news for our viewers in the West. This is a live look at the Port Authority right here in New York City, where an explosion went off just hours ago. The mayor calling it an attempted terrorist attack.
Here's what the scene looked like earlier this morning. Passengers evacuating from the busiest bus terminal in the world as orderly and as quickly as possible.
Yeah, pretty common. The biggest and busiest bus terminal in the world. You heard those emergency vehicles right there. Here's what we know at this hour. At least 4 people, including the suspect, were injured. Suspect's name, Akayat Allah. He's a 27-year-old from Bangladesh, been in the U.S. for 7 years, living in Brooklyn. He's now in custody, was injured by the pipe bomb that went off in his arms, also made statements suggesting support of ISIS. Both the president and the attorney general have been briefed on the situation. We want to go right to ABC's Gio Benitez on the scene just a few blocks away here in New York City. Good morning, Gio.
You can see hundreds of police officers.
That's right, George. Good morning to you. We are just blocks from Times Square, as you said, and I just want you to look right now. This road, this major road here in New York City, is completely shut down. Officers are everywhere. You see that LED screen? That's the Port Authority right there. And as you said, so many people going to work when this happened. Commuters here at the nation's largest bus station were going about their daily commute around 7:30 this morning when suddenly an explosion went off in the passageway to a major subway line, filling the tunnel with smoke as people fled toward the exits. And you were heading to work.
Yeah.
Just like every other day.
Like every day.
Except this time you were running away, not going to work.
Is it? No, I was running towards my job. I know if I make it to my job, maybe I got a chance of surviving.
Police believe the suspect was wounded in the attack. According to law enforcement, the suspect, who detonated a pipe bomb, had wires attached to him and held a battery pack. That suspect, believed to be in his 20s, originally from Bangladesh, now living in Brooklyn, has been in the United States for 7 years. He's in critical condition at a New York City hospital. Within minutes, emergency personnel flooded the scene, shutting down Times Square right in the middle of the busy holiday season in all directions. Police are still looking for any possible secondary devices before clearing the area. It's been a little more than a month since a rental truck in an act of terror mowed down bicyclists on New York's West Side Highway, killing 8 and injuring 11. And back out here live on the scene, there's a suspicion that that pipe bomb was detonated earlier than intended in that passageway with few people, and that's why right now those injury numbers are so low. Guys, back to you.
And Gio, earlier Port Authority had been closed. There had been some suspicion of a second device. Any update on that?
So far, they say that they do not believe that there is anything right now, George, but of course, they're still looking at that. This just happened at this point a few hours ago.
Okay, Gio Benitez, thanks very much.
And so what are we learning about the suspect and this attempted terrorist attack? Let's go to our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. And Pierre, we're now learning the suspect has made statements indicating he supports ISIS.
Indeed, Robin. We're being told the suspect has been identified as Akayat Allah, a 27-year-old in what is being described as a terrorism attack. Our sources say he's been here 7 years, thought to be from Bangladesh, and our sources say he has made statements in support of ISIS. No terror group has claimed responsibility yet, and so far, and I emphasize this is early, there's no information that he had support. This, police believe, was an isolated incident so far. The Attorney General and the Homeland Security Secretary have been briefed on the situation, but this comes at a critical moment. You heard Gio mention that it's the beginning of the holiday season. Law enforcement was already concerned because of that attack that we had in New York just a little more than a month ago, in which 12 people were injured and 8 killed.
Keep that in mind. All right, Pierre, thank you.
Now, let's bring in former NYPD Commissioner Ray Kelly. And Commissioner Kelly, tell us about the Port Authority as a target. I mean, it's Christmas season, holiday season here in New York. The city's already on high alert. With all that being said, was the Port Authority prepared for something like this?
Well, yes, I think the Port Authority is prepared. It has a very professional police department of its own. NYPD practices with them on a regular basis. This individual is talking. He said he wanted to do this for about a year. He said he built the bomb himself. And we know now that the bomb did not totally detonate. And that's why more people were not injured, and that's why he's probably still alive.
Right, do we know if he actually tried to detonate the bomb or if it just went off by accident?
No, he tried to detonate it. He's saying that he intentionally tried to detonate it. Apparently he traveled this route in the past. He lives in Brooklyn. He's an electrician. So he travels that route. He's familiar with it. And thank God there were fewer people there than perhaps another morning. But yes, this was his intention to detonate the bomb and looks like to kill himself.
We all know there are police at the Port Authority all the time, police here in Times Square every single day. Are there any kind of special teams on the lookout for this kind of an incident?
Well, you have the Intelligence Division of the NYPD. It has undercover operations that are ongoing all the time. But if you have someone walking around the station, probably not. Probably just not going to happen. Don't forget the Port Authority police. The Port Authority is upstairs from this location. This was actually a tunnel from the subways, from 1, 2, and 3 line to the alphabet line, so to speak.
As you said, he's been planning this, we now know, for quite some time. Was there any chatter? Was there any credible threats?
We don't know that yet. This is just the beginning of an investigation. We want to know who's associated with. Did he have a cell phone? Did he have any social media footprint? That sort of thing is all to be looked at. But it appears that right now he did it on his own.
And the city's already on high alert. So where do they go from here? What are the steps to make the city where people feel safer?
You know, this city had devoted more resources to protecting itself from terrorism than any other city in the world. And I think there's only so much you can do. You can reasonably do, I think, what the city is doing. I don't think you can go to a higher alert, because the city is always on high alert. And you see police officers, you see them around here. You see them all over Manhattan. And they're doing what they can do.
We appreciate you. Thank you for helping us understand a little bit more.
Okay, let's bring in FBI Special Agent Brad Garrett. Brad, a couple things that we just learned from Ray Kelly. The suspect is speaking. That could bring in some important information right there. One of the things we do know is this was a relatively crude bomb, kind of a pipe bomb velcroed to his body.
And it tells you, George, that this is probably, I learned it online, maybe from somebody else. The detonator may have had issues. There's all sorts of possibilities here, but the bomb has been described as crude. That translates for me into an amateur who got inspired for probably a number of reasons we've talked about before, and wires himself up, goes into a tunnel he's apparently familiar with, and claims that's where he wanted to set it off. We'll have to see if that's really true. But I think the point, George, is this is another example of, and Commissioner Kelly touched on this, is that you can't defense against guys like this unless you know they're going to go do it. And if he operated alone, which is probably going to be the case, it's a scenario of how do you get in front of people like this? And the answer is you don't, unless you have advanced intel.
And another thing that's becoming something of a pattern, from what we know about the suspect right now, Bangladeshi, but been here for 7 years. One of the big questions, when was he radicalized?
Right. And George, the important thing about that is that if you look at the profile of bombers in this country since 9/11, a vast majority are here legally. They've been here for a number of years, and for some reason, they switch. Did they not assimilate? Do they have issues with jobs? I mean, there are a number of sort of obvious things that wouldn't set the rest of us off, but they choose to go down the path of revenge. I'm now mad at America, and I'm going to take it on, in this case, for ISIS.
Apparently, the suspect had a brother in school in Brooklyn. That's where the investigation is going to go next. Everyone who might have had some contact with him.
Of course. And he appears to be unsophisticated enough that there's going to be some trail. Did he learn how to build a bomb? Did he talk about doing this? Was there changes in his behavior in recent months, becoming much more dark, much more violent in his thoughts? My guess is some of that's out there.
Okay, Brad Garrett, thanks very much. I want to go quickly to the White House now. Mary Bruce there in Washington for us as well. Mary, no word from the president, even though he's been briefed.
Exactly, George. No word yet from the president himself, but according to his press secretary, he has been briefed on the situation. If previous attacks, though, are any indication, we can expect the president to likely reiterate his calls for more extreme vetting. Keep in mind, this is the first attack to happen since the latest version of his travel ban has been allowed to go into effect. But Bangladesh, where the suspect is believed to be from, is not one of the countries on that list. George, it is likely the president will be updated here again shortly when he receives his daily briefing.
Okay, Mary Bruce, thanks very much.
Can I ask Commissioner one more thing? I mean, just so very fortunate that it wasn't worse of this, but can lessons be learned from this?
Well, you always look at lessons, incidents like this to learn lessons. Sure, should have been police officers stationed at a particular location. You know, these are the types of things that you do learn. But it's very, very difficult to identify somebody like this. As was said, all indications are he did it by himself. We'll look and see if he has some sort of social media footprint. I doubt it. I doubt it. Based on what he said, he's been thinking about this. He's been ruminating about this for a year. It looks like, and again, this is not confirmed, but it looks like it may be a bomb made out of the tops of matchsticks. We saw that once before, an individual trying to do it. It's actually in Inspire magazine. You know, the ISIS magazine that tells you how to do things. It tells you how to make a bomb out of matchsticks. And this is rumored to be the case. I haven't confirmed that, but it goes to show you that we use household available material to do something like this.
Wow. We're very fortunate. Only 4 people injured in all this.
Very much so.
And we're going to go now to the morning's other breaking headline.